Hey everybody, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy.
News about comic books, musical instruments, tech reviews, and video games with your host, Captain Frugal.
Welcome back, comic book fans, and welcome back to the channel. Every week, a flood of comics hits the shelves, and it can be tough to decide what to pick up. But don't worry, that's what I'm here for. We're about to dive in to this week's releases to crown one book the comic of the week. Will it be an epic superhero showdown, a mind-bending indie darling, or maybe a hilarious new series that everyone has been talking about? I've read a stack of them, and I've got some strong opinions. So stick around to the very end to see which comic earned the top spot and why you absolutely need to add it to your collection. Feel free to drop your own picks in the comments below. I'd love to see what you're reading. So, let's get into it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more comic book reviews every week. Welcome back, friends. We're so happy to see you here in the virtual comic shop. Please be sure to share your thoughts and views. Let's keep it, kind though to one another. Like, don't say anything that you wouldn't say to somebody's face. Let's put it that way. But if you would, hey, let it fly, I guess. All right. The first book I want to talk about is Deadly Hands of Kunlun number 3. And here's the sad thing, it only had 65 ratings on League of Comics Geeks, and it had a mixed score of a 3.4. I actually gave it higher with a 3.8, and that's unusual. This is the third issue of Marvel's limited series here. And well, what can I say? It's not really jumping off the page, I guess, to make people happy. It has an Inhuman connection to it, so you get the Inhumans here. That's pretty cool. So if you're a Karnak fan, you're gonna get that as well. And we do get something interesting here, though, in this issue. And I'm not a fan of the new Iron Fist. Don't get me wrong, the Swordmaster character is okay. I have nothing against him, but I'd rather him be that and leave Danny Rand as the Iron Fist. Well, Li Feng, he gets his, or Li Lai's, I'm sorry, Li Lai gets his arm cut off by Lin Feng. And so I don't know if that's something that's going to magically get put back on or what, but that was pretty awesome. But overall, well, I will say the book finally gets a Danny Rand appearance. Yeah, we get that, but to be fair, there's not a whole lot to that Danny Rand appearance either. It's good art and fast pace here. So when I'm looking it over, I have to say the writer, Feng, whatever his name is, did a good job. The artist was okay too. The cover didn't do anything special. I think really this book is only going to be a draw to Iron Fist fans. And there lies the problem. I'm sorry, but from what I've seen, as much as this new Iron Fist is okay, people want Danny Rand. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want Danny Rand back. Give me Danny Rand. But I'm not the only one. I'm looking at other people and I'm seeing a lot of mixed reviews here. Here's a 2.5. What's with Iron Fist and getting disarmed like that? They didn't like that. This series is just so bland, and the fact that this was advertised as having Danny Rand in it, and he's appeared in about 4 pages in the 3 issues. See, there's my thing. That was a 2-star review, and that's what I'm feeling here too. We were thinking we're getting Danny Rand, we barely gotten any. But this person says, pretty good story and sick ending. I guess he liked the character getting his arm cut off. But ultimately, what are your thoughts? I would like to know. The next book I want to talk about is Planet She-Hulk, number 6. Has 219 ratings on League of Comics Geeks with a 3.1 mixed score. And I gave it higher again. This is really unusual for me. This last month I've been getting higher scores because I gave it a 3.4. The writer is Stephanie Phillips, and the artist is Aaron Cooter. Now, I want to bring up right from the start here, to be fair to this series, is that, well, this issue was really, you could tell it was cut short. This was meant to be an ongoing, and they kneecapped it. It wasn't selling well, so it was forced and rushed to an end. I do like the cover of this issue, and I thought it was decent art throughout. This series finale here centers on a heavily political and moral dilemma Jennifer Walters has been facing. But here's the thing, it's just been sort of she's been put in the future now, and she doesn't know anything about this. It's all been erased from her mind, and this character comes back saying, hey, this is what happened, and it's sort of a really weird way of wrapping up the story. I mean, you could really tell this was rushed. It also gives some information about the Jack of Hearts getting brought back, being okay, and that was because of what she did to do that. This issue, it gets some decent reviews, but I could see why fans are frustrated with it. And as a writer, I'd probably be frustrated with it too, because my story got kneecapped. I mean, this is so rushed. It's obvious here. I'm looking at other reviews. I see a 2-star here. Bro, this ending was so full of crap. I was invested in this comic from the beginning, and the way it was unfolding did make me want to stay for its ending. But man, oh man, does this last issue take the cake away from one of the most ridiculous endings I have ever read. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the problem here. It really stinkered it. We just Starlight cut a moment into the day of the life of Jen for no reason, right? And that's what happens here. And then boom, we cut out everything that's happened just as a retelling of what happened. It was not good at all. I could see why this person gave it a 2-star. I perfectly understand that. Here's a 1.5 star. Up until this issue, my average rating for this series was a 3.8, but this issue's rating is considerably lower, as you can see, because they gave it a 1.5. I just believe the ending was brought about by Marvel cutting their Imperial lines, which is what happened. They cut the whole Imperial thing. They kneecapped all the Imperial storylines, and this was part of it, and it just really made a mess. Here's another 2-star. All the time and money spent on the Imperial story and then following the thread to Planet She-Hulk, only for Marvel to take a huge dump on my face, is quite frankly diabolical. I heard the news that the entire line of the Imperial comics were being canceled. Then I heard Stephanie Phillips herself say that in her mind, Planet She-Hulk ends in issue 5. Yeah, so in other words, she didn't like how she had to wrap this up and probably didn't like the story. I think most of us agree. What do you think about this issue? Now, this next book I want to talk about was almost my book of the week. I mean, it was very close. And that's The Punisher issue number 3 with 418 ratings, 4.1 score, and I gave it a 4. Close. And as I said, usually I go harder on the scores. This does have some interesting open order covers, too, that are available. The writer's Benjamin Piercy and penciler's Jose Luis Soros Pinto. Wow. This has just been interesting. We got the Punisher with this mental issue because the doctor checked him out and said, hey, there's nothing physically wrong in your brain here. But after the Punisher does acts of violence, he's struggling with some brutal pain. And we get more information of why. And I tell you, this is another brutal Punisher issue. Good art, good action. And the last page in this issue, holy cow. I mean, it ends with a bang that'll make your head hurt, pun intended. But you know, let's look at what some other people are saying about this book. This issue is filled with a lot of shock, but not a lot of story. From the opening scene of a mass shooting in a hospital to the last page was just scene after scene of people dying and Frank murdering criminals while popping a copious amount of pills. That's just a 3-star. Yes, he's taking these pills because he's giving them to help him keep the pain down. And so he keeps whacking people and taking pills. But, you know, one thing is, that's not how medication works. I mean, he's going to be a drug addict in no time with this. And maybe that's the point. I don't know what we're going to see here. Here's a 3-star. Okay, I hope I'm not being rude or assuming things too soon. But 3 issues isn't exactly a life sentence. But first impressions matter, as this direction they've chosen doesn't appeal to me. Frank Castle works best when the horror is human. Corruption, organized crime, cycles of violence. That's his territory. Okay, and they don't seem to like this, but I think it fits somewhat. But we'll see. Here, let's look at a 4.5 star. All right. Actually, it's a 4-star. Sorry. Man, next issue is about to be a headache for Frank. Oh boy, is that true. That's for sure. That's pretty good. I'm very much enjoying this run. Boy, if you know, I don't want to spoil the last page, but you get it if you read it. If you know, you know. Let's look at a 3.5 star here. Soros continues to absolutely shine. It's the art that is carrying the series, and I do think the art is very, very good. This person thinks the narrative is weird. I feel like maybe I need to pull out the last 2 issues and give them a reread, because I'm not exactly sure why Homeboy is locked inside some sort of freezer. He's got Microchip locked away because he doesn't have the best relationship with Microchip. If you don't know your Punisher history, you will understand this. Yeah, there's an issue there overall. Let's end it with a 3-star. The third person narration is back, but it's not as bad. The issue is pretty decent, and given the ending, it seems like things are finally really about to kick off. Okay, so did you read this book? What are your thoughts? And if you did, I really want to know what your thoughts are about that last page. I think this is in the running for my comic book of the week. I really enjoyed it and have been enjoying the Punisher. It's nice to see that Marvel is actually treating the Punisher, Frank Castle, the real Punisher, like the Punisher, and maybe learning from the crappy mistakes they had. No matter what, diversity in comics, or diversity in comics matter, or whatever he calls himself, thinks that last series was good, where they completely deconstructed Frank's life and completely twisted the narrative on his history. Tells you he is wrong. This is the Punisher, not that other crap. The next issue I want to talk about has 132 ratings with a 3.4 score on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a 3.8, a higher score. That is Wonder Man number 2. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the art in this that much, and I don't understand some aspects of it or what they're doing here. But the writer Jerry Duggan, I will say, is starting to pull me in with this storyline. The penciler Mark Buckingham here, he's the one I have some maybe issues with. I can really see why this has a mixed score. We're getting a murder mystery story here, and it's been moving a little bit on the slow side. I do like, let's say, the lettering on the cover, because the Wonder Man lettering, because if you know that's what his first comic book series, his own Unlimited series, used that style. So I think that was a nice little throwback to him here. This is sort of an old school kind of tale, though. It does have some open order covers that are okay, and does lead me to question some things here, like why is he back in this green outfit and stuff? Why did we need to change his suit and things again? But let's look at some other people's thoughts with the 4-star. I enjoy this issue a bit more than last. I felt the same way. I think there's still a few issues with how everything jumps around. I have a few issues with how everything jumps around near the beginning. At least made it hard for a new reader of Wonder Man myself, or follow what was being referenced to. Yeah, you know what? I guess that would make sense. If you're a new Wonder Man reader, this might be a little hard because you don't understand the point, how he was an actor, not really a very successful one, failed businessman. Also, though, I will say, one cool thing about this one, it has ties from the West Coast Avengers book that was canceled. So that was cool, because I think that book could have had a lot more potential. Let's look at a 3-star. Simon's going to be quite tested with his pacifism with this. Man, they made Spot look terrifying with that. Yeah, we have this joke villain of the Spot, and they actually made him really cool as a hitman in this. I mean, I got to give it credit for that. And also, you get a weird thing about the Grim Reaper here. You get to see how the Grim Reaper is dealing with things. We get Killer Watt too. As I said, there's that tie-in to the West Coast Avengers, and we're getting a possible love interest here with Simon and Patsy Walker. I don't know what I'm thinking about that, because Simon mentions he hasn't had exactly the best history of dating other heroes. Let's end this one on a 4.5-star review. I like this a lot. The characters are extremely messy in a human way, and it makes a more interesting read. All the little details flesh out the effed up world they're in. Yeah, if they're in Hollywood, they're definitely in an effed up world, right? Because Hollywood's a mess. Yeah, they use some words that people have deride for a while. Okay, don't understand what they mean by that exactly, but they're used correct here. Oh, okay, and make for a better story. They just didn't like maybe some of the choice of words, but it made sense here. I tell you, if you want to try something different, Wonder Man's probably going to be it, because it is different. It's not a fast-paced beat-em-up book. It's more of a slow burn. If you're a huge Wonder Man fan, yeah, you're probably going to want to check it out. If not, you're probably going to want to potentially wait for a trade. The last book I want to talk about this week is my number 1 pick of the week, and that's Captain America number 10 with 646 ratings, a 4.0, very positive score on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it just a little higher, 4.1. Wow, I am getting generous lately in my old age. Maybe the old man yelling at clouds has finally seen the silver lining. I don't know. There's some open order covers for this too that are, they're okay. Writer Chip Zdarsky is writing a polarizing tale here, but yet captivating people's interest. The artist is Valerio Schiti, and I probably butchered that, right? So we get the shocking betrayal that leaves Captain America's SHIELD team at odds here. They splintered off, and boy, some things happened in this issue here. And we get this character Salvation versus Captain America. We're getting the Red Hulk is getting involved now. It's all about to go down. There's decent art in this book, and I kid you not, there is some definitely brutal action in here. And to say betrayal, yes, definitely. I mentioned before, betrayal. I mean, this has some really good story development. So let's check out what some other people say about this one. First, I'm going to start with this 4.5 star. All right. Here we go. This was really a great issue all around. And the ending is either about to be the craziest thing ever or a lazy cop-out. Who could tell? I honestly have no clue. I think I know who that is, but it might be something else. Yeah, there's some interesting things here going on. And Ross continues to not really do it for me here, though. Okay, well, not for everybody. But here's a 5-star review. And here I thought that last week's issue was great. But man, does this comic keep getting better. The art is... usual is another solid piece of work done here, with the artist is masterful at their craft. The letterer did an amazing job at writing dialogues and conveying the message of anti-fascism brilliantly throughout them. Yeah, and there's one issue you're going to have if you get tired of politics in comics. Captain America would be a hard one to read. It hasn't really said anything that was directly anti-American fascism doing that, but you know how these left-wing writers tend to go. You know, they go the push hard, whatever that is. But I didn't see any Trump pictures here or anything, so I didn't have anything. I don't think that would offend people in that regard of complete left-wing stupidity. Let's look at another one. Zdarsky was cooking a gourmet meal with dialogue in this issue. Cap was just dropping banger quotes at every opportunity. Having the last issue in this book back to back was a smart move by Marvel because it was much more impactful as a 2-part for the battle against Marius Wolf, aka Doom from Wish. The Wish version of Doom. That was a 5-star review. I'm going to try to find something that's going to be counter to that because I'm really not seeing much, but here's a 2.5. Found one. I wish Cap vs. Salvation fight would have been longer. Yeah, it was a bit short. I mean, it's already a 6-issue arc, or more even. I think this particular story just keeps going when Armageddon hits. So you could devote an issue, but what we got here felt a bit lackluster given the guy was hyped up quite a bit. Okay, I get that. They hyped up this villain and it doesn't seem to last long here. That does make some sense. That's a valid argument. I'm looking for any other valid arguments. Here's a 2.5 star. I'm pretty much getting sick of Doom and Lavaterio, right? Well, you know what? Okay, that's your thought. If you're not a Doom fan, this might not be for you. The interjection of politics makes things even worse. There we go. That's what I feared. Some people are not going to like that. What's next? Cap gets rid of the stars and stripes? That makes a point here. I hate when writers make their characters secondary to their personal politics. I haven't read a good Cap book in quite some time. Time to move on. Steve deserves better than this. Ouch. So as you see there is some polarization with the politics being in here. And as I said, yeah, you could definitely tell there's some social political commentary in here, which is influenced by today's liberal view of things. But you know, and then there's the injection of the right size view on things too. A lot of different opinions in here. Hopefully it didn't spoil your enjoyment of the comic. And that, my friends, is my issue of the week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and support these people by saying hi. Thank you to them. Thank them in the comments section for supporting this channel. You know, you can support this channel too. It's something as simple as, if you don't have the financial means to do it, I get it. You know, like the video, put a comment in it. That's wonderful and much appreciated. If you do, though, you can go to the Patreon and put in as little as $1 a month, and you're going to get access to music tracks that you can just listen to or use for your videos if you use them. They're royalty free. I've made sure all that was removed on those from my copyrights. On top of that, you get special video content that nobody else gets. So keep that in mind. I also have a Discord. Not many people are using my Discord, but we also have a Marvel Puzzle Quest thread that we added in the Discord. So if you're playing that game and you want to have some conversation in there about characters and things like that, team ups, you can use that as well. Thank you everybody for your time, and until next time, keep it frugal. Welcome back, friends. We're so happy to see you.